Smart, stupid stuff. So I want you to imagine myself lifting up my mic to the air, singing this song. Hey, na, hey, na. Because a new episode is about to start. Smart, stupid stuff. Woo! Hey, na,
That's awesome, man. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Welcome back. We are on week 4 of coronavirus, and we are still here. Today, we have Elias and we have Tucci. Unfortunately, our friend Rambir couldn't join us today. He had a party to attend. He's not being socially distanced, and shame on him. Actually, I don't know. It's not really a party. I don't really know. I just made that up.
He has a party
Shout
with
out-
his children.
With the children, yeah. Shout out to those guys who are listening. Corey Harpin, I hope you're still listening. I hope you're not mad at me. Evan Baxter, thank you so much. Bruce from the Big Apple, sometimes you listen, sometimes you don't, but it's okay. And I say that to you guys. If you want me to shout you out, just let me know, and I will shout you out. Just let me know you're listening. That's all you have to do. We have sponsors, and we have Alpaca Chicken. If you want Alpaca Chicken in the area, get it delivered to your house. Just do it, okay? We have Nation Homes. That's Elias's company. He can get you set up with whatever you need right now. He's still working through the quarantine, man. He's taking precautions. He's doing whatever it is that he need to do. So if you need anything, call him. And last but not least, we have BlueBetsy.com on eBay. Actually, it's not BlueBetsy.com. It's Blue Betsy Boutique on eBay. If you go to BlueBetsy.com, it takes you straight to a porno site. Actually, I don't know if that's true, but it doesn't work. On that note, let's get started, motherfuckers.
Ow!
So what's good, guys? Week 4 of the craziest, most historical time in our lives.
Everybody's it's crazy how you get so used to this, like seeing the stores empty. Like I drove by a couple outlets because I was kind of far away, and you see all the outlets like empty, man. All parking spaces empty, and it was like daylight. They should be open, and you start seeing all these places closed, and you're like, shit, this is like you're not surprised of that anymore. It's like, shit, we're actually living on a shutdown city,
Yeah, it's crazy, bro. I mean, I haven't even left my house, so tell me what is happening out there. Like, I seriously haven't. This is week 4, and I've taken this quarantine as seriously as possible. I've only gone out to bike, and I've been ordering everything from the internet. Gone out 0 times, dude. So are people still out in stores or not really?
Yeah, man, so much people in the store. Let me see. Did I send you a picture? Oh, I was at Lowe's the other day, man. I sent you a picture. How that was.
So what are they doing to keep people safe? Because you were telling me they have like tapes.
They have tapes on the floor saying like everybody's staying 6 feet apart. Let's say if you want to check out, but there's so many people on the lines, like, so you have to walk through these people in order to get to the other side, because there's some. Okay, you are 6 feet apart in the line, but then if you have to walk, you can just walk between those 6 feet,
So, Elias, what are people buying? Like, why are there so many people there?
Man, people just taking care of their houses, man. They buying flowers, plants, man. They buying whatever they haven't done through the whole year or through their whole life, probably. They're trying to do during this time.
I guess that makes sense, especially if they're like stuck at home for 4 weeks, but just seems kind of weird that they would choose the time of a pandemic to go out to Lowe's and buy some flowers,
Well, that's the problem with this fucking kind of disease, is that it's bad enough to be to be deadly, but it's not 100% deadly, and there's a lot of misinformation, and a lot of people think that it's not going to affect them, including us, right? So we talk all this shit, right? But we don't really feel like we could die from it, right? I mean, do you guys feel like, because if you thought Elias, if you thought you could die from it, would you be out there in the store? If you knew like 100%, or like there's a high, not 100%, but a high probability that you could die from this, would you be out in the stores?
Yeah, probably, man.
No. Anyways, let me ask somebody else. Tucci, no, I'm just kidding. What do you mean you don't care?
The only way I wouldn't be out there is because the Chinese kind of like took over everyone, and it's a bunch of Chinese everywhere. And if they see you, they probably kill you.
What?
But it's
so you.
I wouldn't like just because of the fact that I cannot see that somebody's actually going to harm me. it won't. You know, like when you tell me, oh, it's a virus
No, but
out there. You know, like I don't see it. So if because I don't see it, I don't take it as serious. But they just
no, but hear me out.
on my subconscious, you know, because I really believe like a lot of people is gonna keep dying. A lot of people is gonna die, and I'm just hoping that it's not gonna. I'm not gonna die. That's just I'm hoping.
No, but hear me out.
Yeah,
If
I'm
you were
like,
seeing people, if like 90% or 80% of people who got it died,
if I
you
see
wouldn't be out there.
man, it's just
What
that I
what's
feel like if I don't see like if I see people like 90% of the people that got it, how many cases here in the U.S. Like 500,000? How many? You know
It,
dude?
how many
There's like
cases?
over 10,000 cases,
So over
right? Or no, over
10,000
10,000 deaths.
in the okay here.
Oh no, I don't know actually.
this
No, how many?
right now it's like 14,500 deaths, and then like 400 and something thousand and like
400.
actually
So
confirmed.
that's 500,000. So I feel like when I look at the numbers, like the chances and the possibility and the percentage of me getting it is very low because we're talking about a country with 350,000, 350 million people. They're good and healthy, and only 500,000 of them are sick. I know a lot of this
No,
can
it's
get
it's over a million. Half a million are dead.
bueno. Half a
Um,
million are dead
and
worldwide though.
no, in the U.S.
500,000
And
dead
No, not no
no,
no
no,
no
no,
no.
no. Confirmed 400,000. I'm sorry. Confirmed 400,000
cases.
infected. I have it up. 400,000 cases confirmed in the U.S. 14,000 deaths and 23,000 recovered.
Recover.
But here's the
What
thing:
that recover? They getting better or what?
they got better. Yeah.
Okay.
Now what?
So
What?
the
So no,
percentage
no,
of
no, no.
that, of me getting
Yeah,
it
no.
is very low.
Well, and that's what the problem is, right? And I think you're right? So that's what a lot of people feel like, and that's the point I was trying to make, and that's what keeps people from taking this very seriously. But what happens is not the quarantine and everything we're doing is not going to stop until people do take it seriously, because the only tool we have is quarantine. We don't have a vaccine for it, and unless people stay home, it's not ever going to be a thing that we go away. So it's gonna be around for a long time. It's week 4, right? We've been here for 4 weeks from when it started, like hardcore. And they have like, they don't really have an end date for this, but they were thinking like by the end of April or whatnot. I think that this is gonna go on for like till the end of the year at this point.
Oh yeah,
That's
I
what
mean, because like if we start going back out, right? If we stop social distancing, then even if there's like just a few cases left, that dramatically increases the risk that there's going to be another spike, another
Yeah.
like hot spot somewhere.
So
So
everything what we're doing wouldn't be worthless, just because like it have to
And
be
that's the thing, dude.
completely gone in order for everybody to be able to go out.
Right.
yeah.
Well, I don't know. So the main issue with it is that the hospitals and the healthcare places have to be able to handle this, right? Like, because if you get if you had bad symptoms, you need a respirator or whatnot, and there's so many cases. I mean, and here's the thing: these are recorded cases. I know of at least 2 people that were diagnosed as potential, that they did not actually take the test, but they probably had it. So this is just a low number. And also how fast this grew, bro. This was in 4 weeks or less, right? 4 weeks ago, how many cases were there? So that's the other scary thing. As you're saying, there's only 500,000 that have it, and there's 3 million or whatever.
350
Yeah, but that was
million.
350 million. But in a week ago or 2 weeks ago, it was a fraction of it. So it's growing very, very fast.
I know.
So that's the other thing.
If this virus takes like somebody has it on lows, everybody it will spend so much, faster, man, because there's so many people there.
And you're out there just thinking your own vacation, buying plants, fucking renovating your house. What the fuck, guys? Cold Nation Homes. Seriously.
Definitely do.
They'll do it for you.
Yeah, do it.
What the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Well,
yeah, I'm talking to you.
One of the things I've been doing for my parents, like they haven't been out, they've been, staying at the house, and they want to do stuff. My parents are like 50 something, right? So they cannot be at the house like doing anything. So my dad have to be doing something always. He's always doing something. So I've been buying just them material, leave them at the house, and
But are you in contact with them? Because you could be a
no.
carrier
So what I
and not have
do,
anything.
so I got these Clorox things. Like I kind of wash my hands, and like I kind of wipe. Every time I do, it's like a routine that I have. Like, okay, I just went to the store before getting in the car. I have the Clorox in the truck bed, so I gonna grab it from there, just wipe my hands, and trying to be the safer possible. Taking my cautions, I
So
guess,
you
washing my hands and things
so
like that.
you so you have the Clorox wipes in the back. You get out of the car and you wipe your hands, and then do you
No, I
wipe
don't. I
the
don't get
you
out
wipe them?
when I get out of the car. I just when I come back to the car.
But when you go to your parents' house, do you just leave the stuff outside, or you
Well, it's,
say
yeah,
hi to
yeah,
your
yeah.
dad? Or,
We're talking about wood, concrete, plants, things like that. No, just
and then
even
do you say,
I kind of do. Yeah, I kind of walk inside. Like some, yeah, I do walk inside, but I do make sure I wash my hands and things like that. And we don't like, let's say with my parents, like I haven't hugged them, like that, get close like that. Like I don't hug them, things like that. Uh, but I do touch
but you
things
weren't
like the doorknobs and things like that.
weren't you telling me that the CDC that said that it can be transmitted from having a conversation with somebody from 6 feet away?
Yeah, I mean, well, they're saying that, it can be transmitted from these droplets that come out of your mouth, whether that's from sneezing, coughing, breathing, talking, stuff like that. So, but actually, it's interesting because I was reading an article on NPR today about takeout food because like I get some takeout food sometimes, right? And like I still do that, and like I'm still gonna do it regardless of the risk because I like takeout food and I want to support local businesses. But I think so. Like when I read the article before going into it, I thought that there was some sort of risk with just eating the food, but interestingly, there's not because the way that the virus infects you predominantly is through your airways, right? And if you eat food that's contaminated with the virus, it doesn't go through your airways. It just goes straight down to your stomach. So your digestive fluids, the
The
acid
acid.
in your stomach, yeah, it's going to kill the virus before it causes any harm. So that's one piece of information like that I found it particularly interesting. So
Huh.
Then I heard like the only way to get to you, let's say like you have like even though you have it on your hands, it's not gonna get inside your body just because you touch it. The only way it's gonna be able to get to you is because through your nose, your mouth, and your eyes. Unless you have
Right,
it
but think about
stuck
how many times
around.
you touch your face.
Yeah,
But
but
to me, the
I've
biggest
been so
concern is
aware of
the
not doing that. Like I am aware of.
yeah.
I can't like like I wouldn't like man like for real like I haven't touched my face. It's kind of weird. You see people walking next to you or they cough or they do something. You're like, shit, like that motherfucker can be
Dude,
infected.
if somebody is coughing next to me right now, I'm fucking out of here. I don't know who the fuck is coughing next to you, but get the fuck
Man,
out of here,
before
bro.
before
Are you kidding me?
before the virus was around, man, you always like that.
Oh
I
yeah, I've
remember,
always been like
I
that.
remember you sneezing inside Martin's car. He puts all the windows down, like drive for a couple of minutes.
Dude, are you kidding me?
I can imagine that
Yo,
right now. He
are
would
you
just
kidding me?
run
Like, yeah, dude, if
away.
you're sneezing. Well, I've been worried about I've been actually doing this, right? So if food gets delivered to my house, I through the door tell the guy leave it out there, right? And it's a little bit awkward because I'm for some reason they kind of want to give it to you because they're used to it, right? And like I'm thinking like, have you not been whatever? Just leave it outside. And I'm like, I always pretend like, oh, the dog is gonna get out or something, but just like just be out there. Just don't come in here.
Yeah, I tip you through the app. Don't worry, man.
Yeah,
I
no,
tip you
well,
through the
yeah,
app.
it's already. Yeah, I never tipped the guys. No, I'm just kidding. It's all done. It's all taken care of through the app. So I tell them to leave it out there. Then I go get Clorox wipes and my Lysol, and I spray the bag with Lysol because I saw this doctor on YouTube tell you how to do it, and it said like it can stay on plastic bags for XY amount of time, on paper bags for X amount of time, and whatnot. So I spray it with Lysol, and then I take the Clorox wipe and I wipe everything that I can. And that's how I do it. I don't bring anything into the house. I get rid of all the bags and put them in the trash immediately. I don't bring anything. Same with groceries. I've been wiping every single piece of groceries. You know how much of a pain in the ass that is, guys? When you
Mhm.
buy a bunch, like you have like 1,000 different little items, like fucking, like little baby foods, cans, and you have to sit there and wipe every single one of those. It's a pain in the ass, but I'm taking this seriously. I'm saying, like, dude, I've already been here for so long. I don't want to get this shit. I'm not even taking that kind of risk. But it's good to know that the food, it makes sense. It goes right through your digestive system and it's not in. But I guess if you're eating it and it's on it and you somehow inhale some of it through your nose, here's the thing.
All right, if you're inhaling food, I think you have a bigger problem than just the virus.
Well, like, let's say you're biting the burger, right? So you put your burger, you put the burger bun in your mouth, but then your nose is right over the bun, and the coronavirus is on the bun, and you just
Do you breathe when you're eating?
You happen to make this. You just do that, and then it goes right into your nose. I don't know. Yo, here's the other thing. It feels like first they say, like, hey, this is only if you touch things. Just make sure you wash your hands and you'll be okay.
Wait,
and then they come up.
Wait, can we go back to how you eat? Because that's like, I'm stuck on that. Can we like explore that a little bit more?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I never paid attention if you eat when you inhale, but I'm just saying, like, you're running a risk, but you have to eat. That's for sure. But you don't have to be at the store. So I actually got a little aggravated with somebody this week because of that. And you were there, Tucci.
I was there.
Because I said, why are you going to the store? You could just simply buy. You can get everything you need off of Amazon Fresh and online.
Bro, you assaulted that poor man, dude. Like,
that's a loaded statement, right? Because you don't necessarily can't get everything you need. And I didn't mean to react that way, but what I was frustrated about is that, I don't know, I feel that the only way this is going to end is if we can stay inside. Nobody likes this, right? Everybody wants this to end, but nobody wants to stay inside.
I think they're doing something like everything's got to be delivered now. Like, they actually got to close Lowe's, they got to close Walmart, they got to close all these stores.
They need to. That's the only way. Dude, you know what's funny? Colombia, where my parents are from, where I'm from, where my parents are at right now, is dealing with this much more efficiently than we are here. The president immediately shut everything down. If you're out in the streets when you're not supposed to, you get what the equivalent to $1,000 of a fine for being out there. Because they have like designated times, like based on your identification. Like if your ID number ends on X, Y, and Z number, you can be outside on that date only with the purpose of going to the store and taking care of like essential stuff to like buy food. But if you're out there like watching your car or like doing shit that is not essential, you can get $1,000 fine.
And Colombia has a pretty low transmission rate, right?
Well, right now they have only 5,000 cases and only 50 deaths. That's pretty low.
No, that's a lot. No, that's a lot over there because you only have 40 million people in Colombia, or 30 million. So you're talking
about. How did you know that off the top of your head?
No, I'm gonna check that out. Colombia,
we need to verify that.
Was that 50 million, 43 million?
49 million.
Wow, good job, man.
Wow, Elias, what the fuck?
How many? What happened?
49 million, yeah.
49 million. Okay, so if you're talking about 350 million, and then you take that lower to 49 million, then 5,000 cases will be a lot.
Well,
because you have here, if you compare the numbers, it's a big percentage over there.
There is, well, I got this from my parents, so I don't know if it's a good source, but there were 3 nations that have been dealing with this in the best possible way, and it was Japan, South Korea, and Colombia. Like, was like up there.
Finally, Colombia up there is
something, right? Oh, finally, God damn it! No, but I mean, if you think about it, a huge issue that we're having right now is that the president of this nation did not think this was real or a problem till like very recently. So we did not take this seriously till very recently.
And I think we're still not taking it seriously.
Right. It does take like, you can't expect the population to make this decision. It needs to come from the government, I guess. I mean, as much as people hate that, it needs to be like, hey, nobody's fucking going out. All the stores are getting closed. Or it's just going to keep going, dude. It's like, we're going to be under this thing like where people are mildly dying. Like, okay, so it's not a lot, but people are dying. So as long as people are dying, they're gonna not open things normally, and it's just gonna get dragged on forever. It's gonna kill the economy. It's gonna keep us in our houses forever, bro. Like we're here, like till the end of the year, maybe longer. That's months.
Yep.
It's gonna change life as we know it.
So other countries, like I guess Colombia will come out of here like faster, but the thing with Colombia is like they won't be having the borders open, I guess, just because there's other countries dealing with it too. So let's say we're good, the US is good, but then you still have Europe dealing with it, so we're still not gonna have like nobody coming in and things like that. So it's gonna
That's a
be,
good
it's
point.
gonna be still affecting the economy if the whole war doesn't deal with it,
Right.
That's a good point. I don't know how that's gonna go down.
Because I'm pretty sure Europe, like, you know how many tourists from the US, man, I'm pretty sure US have the most tourists around the world than anyone else. Because of the travel, like everybody from the US, they've been to everywhere, man.
I don't know, man. China might be a close second.
Yeah, Chinese tourists are notorious. Right?
Yeah. China because of the population, but I'm pretty sure everybody loves the American just because they're everywhere, man. Too like Mexico.
Right.
Yeah, they love it. Yeah, Americans are known for being loved around the world. Tucci, do you know? Since you're our resident researcher,
when did I get that title?
Right after the political correspondence, which we'll get into that later. But as our resident researcher, what's happening in China? China, they're done with this, right? They're back to normal. What the fuck is happening?
Well, they just reopened Wuhan from its I guess quarantine lockdown type thing, and I think that they're optimistic that there's not going to be retransmission or like a resurgence. But I mean, who knows, right? Because there's a lot of people in Wuhan. I mean, you think there's a lot of people in New York? Just go up and look how many people are in Wuhan compared to New York. It'll blow your mind.
How many?
How do you spell Wuhan? I'm gonna look up.
Wuhan.
So New York, how many millions in New York?
11 million. 11 million in Wuhan. In New York,
2
we
million.
have, let's see,
2 million New York City.
8 million.
8 million. Just New York, New York State,
damn,
or New York?
I put NYC, dude.
Yeah.
New York population 8 million. Oh my god.
11.
Like a shit ton of people in one place, bro.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like that's not even one of the biggest cities in China.
Yeah.
God damn, they have. I wonder for New York City is impressive because the square footage is not that big. I mean, how big is New York City? New York City can't be that fucking big. NYC.
It's pretty big, dude. It's pretty big.
Square miles.
And then you have a bunch of sky.
All right, so 302 square miles, so 11 million people in 302 M. What the fuck does that mean? Let's say 300 miles. 300 miles square footage is what it sounds like. And then Wuhan square footage is 3,000 square foot. So fucking New York City is tiny.
Yeah.
It's 300 versus 3,000. And there's 8 million people in there. People are living on top of each other.
Yeah, it's definitely a dense city. Yeah.
So imagine like if you live in like skyscraper, how many floors? Probably, I don't know, 50 floors. And the person in floor number 1 is sick. And then everybody have to go through the same elevator or different elevators. So everybody gets, so it's way harder. How do you do it?
And then
over there, you definitely cannot get out of your house or your apartment or your room. Pretty much your room.
don't leave.
Or your bed. You cannot get out of your bed because a bunch of people live like, man, there's in New York City, like I know Hispanics where like you have 5 people. No, 5 no, like 20 people in a house.
Wait, in New York City?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of people that live like very tight, man, because rent in New York is super expensive. Then if you're working as a waiter, you definitely sharing rooms with somebody, man.
That's true, bro. Yeah, dude, that is a fucked up. Like they're like so many people. Like what is it? 700 people died in one day in a hospital or whatever.
Yep.
That is like the way that it would really fuck with your head, bro.
They have refrigerated trucks that are designed specifically to hold these bodies because they don't have enough room in the morgues right now.
Wow.
But then Elias is out there,
Then-
partying it out.
Then they're gonna be
Having
delivering. Then they're gonna be delivering ice cream on the same trucks.
Well, I
Right.
think New York got hit particularly hard, and I don't think that was avoidable just because of what you said. It's so dense, right? So like as soon as a case shows up there, like it's already too late. Like hundreds of people have been infected by that point. So
And the other thing is like so many people just visiting New York, And how about California? Like because California is very close from people to China coming into the U.S. and New York is also a main point from people traveling from different parts.
yeah,
Through the
California
states.
is interesting, man. I think so. Like, I mean, they have San Francisco, Los Angeles. Like, they have some big cities. It's like you would think it would hit them harder, but I think they shut down so early and so quick that, especially compared to New York, like they have completely almost nipped it in the bud. So
Yeah, so they had the biggest city affected was Los Angeles with 6,000 cases and 169 deaths.
which is nothing.
Nothing compared to what we just saw
Yeah.
from New York. And as low as like 600 cases with 15 deaths. San Francisco only had 600 cases with 10 deaths. So yeah, I mean that's what happens when you decide to stay home. God damn it!
When you don't decide to stay
Stay
home.
fucking home. Stay home, motherfuckers. Looking at you, Elias.
I
Elias is
see.
like, well, I live my normal life. It's okay. It ain't gonna kill me. It's tough, man. It's tough because you can't really judge people, but it's just dangerous enough to be a thing, but not to scare unless you were like directly affected, right?
The thing is like, I don't know. The news, like, oh my god, man, they scare you so much. I don't, there's so much like people.
But in this
with
case, it's not
fear.
scaring you enough. It's not scaring you enough.
Man,
apparently.
unless somebody have like outside with a freaking gun pointing at me, I wouldn't be scared, man.
What?
Yeah, I have to get to that point. I guess.
But here's the thing. So at what point do you care about others, right? Because let's say that you have it and it doesn't affect you, right?
I live by myself, man.
No, but you're inside your parents' house, bro. You could be bringing that shit in there. You're by your brothers and sisters. You could accidentally give it to them.
No,
You're
the
by
only
some
people,
old lady at Lowe's, an old lady at Lowe's, right? So you would have stayed home. She wouldn't have gotten it. But now you were at Lowe's and she dies. Right, so that's what people don't think.
She didn't.
I mean,
die
I'm just
because of
saying.
me. She died because she was.
She did. No, she was at Lowe's because she had exactly. But you could have just stayed home and not get her sick. I'm just saying, like, I think that is the problem. Is most people think like, I don't care if I die. I don't think I can. I'm young and I'm strong and I don't have to worry about it. But you're getting other people sick. That's the thing. Like, you can be asymptomatic. You can actually never show any symptoms and still be a carrier.
I don't take any responsibilities.
I know you don't, and that's the problem.
If Trump is not taking any responsibility, why should I take any responsibilities?
Wow.
Yeah, that's true. That's how you do it. Hey, whatever you need to do to justify the fact that you killed that old lady at Lowe's, Elias.
Shut up. You start making me feel bad now, man. I'm not gonna.
You should feel bad.
Oh.
Next time you see an old lady, run away.
Like that old lady just wanted her flowers, man. That's all she wanted.
Yeah, what the fuck would you need?
No.
Dude,
if you go to the store now, they have like a glass protecting them. They have bleach, everything, man. Those counters, they're taking good precaution on their workers, though.
I think it's not gonna work.
Like they have.
What do you mean? There's glass protecting?
So
they have a glass on the.
Yeah, they have a glass right next to the cashier. Like you can, and in order for them to scan things, like it's kind of under, like on the you kind of put it on the desk and they scan it. They don't even touch anything.
I don't think. I mean, it's all good and well that we're taking precautions, but if you're over the age of 50 and you're out there, you're fucking out of your goddamn mind.
Man,
you need to be at home.
You saw the picture I sent you from Lowe's?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it was a bunch of people. I thought it was Tucci, and I was because Tucci had just texted me, and you texted me that picture right after, and I was texting Tucci, and Tucci was in the group, so I was confused, and that's why I texted back like, "What the fuck do you need from Lowe's? like, what do you need at Lowe's that you are at Lowe's?" Because I thought it was Tucci. If I'd known it was you, I'd understand. Like, you do construction, so you need materials or whatnot. But I was like, and that was the day after I got into it with Tucci and my other friend about going to the store because they're like, you can get everything from Amazon. Well, you cannot get everything from Amazon, but you can get enough to get by. I mean, if you're okay with not having chicken, like, okay, well, there's no chicken, just have fucking sausages or just have something else, like get whatever they have. But like, if you really want chicken and you have to go to the store, then that's a whole other thing. Like just fucking do with what you can.
It's just that
But
the
I was
thing is, like you, like Martin and I, like we have like two totally different lives, man. Like your life is completely different from my life. The only thing we have in common right now, man, is that we both speak Spanish and we're both sitting behind a computer. But everything else is completely different. Your job is different. Everything is different, man. Like absolutely everything. Like you'll be fine just buying things on Amazon. Man, I wouldn't like. Yeah, I gotta buy a 6x6x12 from Amazon. He's gonna get here to my house and start working. No, it's like
that's different. I'm talking about the person I was speaking about. They were talking about getting food for the house, and I said you can get everything on Amazon, and they're like, no, but they don't have chicken, so that I can get everything I want. And I reacted very aggressively to that because it's like, okay, yes, you cannot get chicken. That's fine. But you don't need chicken. You can eat other things, right? In your case, it's different because you're trying to work. And you know what? And essentially, like, construction is still an essential thing, right? Is that considered an essential business still?
Well, it depends. It depends. If you're doing siding, like if you got somebody's boiler broke on the second floor and the whole house is gonna like have water on the first floor if you don't fix the boiler,
right?
Then yes, it is. But then if you're just gonna paint a room, it's not. It just depends what you're doing.
Well, that's the thing. If only you and people who make a livelihood of construction were at Lowe's, it wouldn't be as much of an issue. The fact that all these fucking people are out there buying flowers and thinking it's a big old time, that's the problem.
So the problem is what I say. Just like, let's say Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, they're making a ton of money right now. So they should cut down on the things that are not essential. Let's say Lowe's is staying open because of electrical and plumbing, right? So those are the only thing that they should be selling. Like they should be selling plants. They shouldn't be selling none of that stuff. They should be selling, I don't know, like a extension cord. I don't know. Maybe you do need an extension cord as an emergency. No, I don't know. But they should cut down.
No, I see where
curtains, like you should regulate like the flow of the people by saying, okay, we're not going to be selling plants. We're not going to be selling, I don't know, man. Things like that you don't need,
I get it. But you can't expect the business to make that decision. That's the problem. You can't make a business no business is responsible for making responsible decisions. They're responsible for year over year growth and producing money, and that's the problem. And that's where I feel like personally the government has to step in and said, here's the regulations, here's what you can and cannot do. And unfortunately, we have not had that happen. In my opinion, we haven't had I think from state-wise there were some governors that acted pretty quickly. But when we have the leader of our nation saying it's not a big deal early on, I think it fucked everything up.
Mm-hmm.
And it had like he had the president of Walgreens, the CEO of Walmart, and everybody saying we're gonna rally together. It was just like a huge business opportunity for him. This is the reason this is gonna drag on longer and longer, in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, so, we have the most cases in the world, dude.
So I don't know much in the stocks, but let's say if you buy stock from Walmart, I guess right before this happened, you have like it went up, right? I guess the stocks on Walmart and Walgreens and things like that.
I'm probably I don't know. I can look it up. I can try to look.
So it would
But
be
yeah,
nice if you can look through the history, like of who buy these stocks, and see if like, okay, this man bought this and this time, and he did like a crazy move, just to see if you can kind of predict it, what was going to happen, and if someone actually kind of predicted and did,
it's
like
crazy. Actually, Walmart's stocks are low. Well, they've been sort of in a roller coaster. They are higher now. So the normal was like 120 stock, and it went as low as 110. And right now they're at 121. So I guess they stay steady. They haven't really gone up.
Okay.
But at least they haven't dropped like 30%.
Like
They
the other
haven't.
company.
I mean, this month they've in March they were as low as 104. But then they went up to as high as 126. So yeah, I don't know how that works, but that's when you start getting into the conspiracy theories, right? Like there's people that we know that are saying this whole thing is bullshit. That was fabricated by the Chinese. I have friends that can go as far as saying that this was something that was a cover up for a sex trafficking of children. You could go whatever kind of rabbit hole you want to go to, but at the end of the day, it is, to me, is something that was not predicted. Like this actually, it just shows how ill prepared we were for dealing with something like this.
Unprepared.
Yeah, we were really bad prepared for this. We don't have the resources. We don't have the masks. A lot of people are going to die, and because it's not that visible, people continue to go out and don't think it's a big deal, and that's a problem. But
so I'm still caught up on people believing that this is all a conspiracy to like hide or like aid people in this child sex ring or whatever it is, like, well, so I guess I have one, like my first question is, what do you think drives people to believe something like that?
To believe something like sex trafficking?
To believe that the whole coronavirus epidemic is like a conspiracy to like hide or aid this child sex ring thing. Like that's the conspiracy theory. So what do you think drives people to believe that?
I think there are
no. This is sorry to cut you off, man, but when you're at the house doing quarantine for 4 weeks, you start thinking everything, man. Like you come up with so many different ideas and so many different things that come to your mind, and you might put something together that looks good and it sounds good, and you just post it, and let's see where it goes. I have a friend. He posted something. It was like something like a poem he wrote. Man, that thing has 19 million views. Exploded. Like everybody was talking about it. Everybody, even famous people, were like on the Hispanic thing. And that was just something that he wrote. It was just a page, a couple of sentences, and it was something that kind of impact like many people. And I think the same way with this, if you come out with a good idea, like the earth is flat, if you come out with a good idea and you have a couple good points, then you can make anyone believe anything. Like, and there is how many millions? 7 billion people here in the earth. Everybody has internet. You got connected to everybody. At least if I come up with something stupid, at least I would have a couple followers if I have a couple good points there. That's what I think.
Right. And that's the problem we have. We live in an era of misinformation, and there are a lot of people who, I mean, and here's the thing: there are some corrupt things happening in government. That's something that happens, right? Like we could get behind that. There is money behind politics. There are certain things that are fucked up that if it were to come out, it would not be accepted. Do you agree with that, Tucci, Elias?
Yeah.
Oh, is there government corruption? Absolutely. I just think people they're not focusing on the right areas.
Exactly. So there's government corruption, and because of that, there is people who lose faith in the government, and then they feed off of, or they feel like they're being done wrong. In my opinion, they've done wrong, or like they feed like the vaccine thing, like, oh, it's a big thing, like they're fucking us, right? They're doing this because they're fucking us, and then there's a lot of there's misinformation, or you can go online, like Elias has said, you can go online and find information to support your argument that you're getting fucked really hard, right? So when you live a life of where you've gone down this rabbit hole and you believe this is the truth and everybody else is not living this truth that you found, then it makes it very easy to go down a rabbit hole where like, oh, the coronavirus is also not true, and it's a cover up for it. But that's what sucks of today. Like I feel like back in the day when we didn't have the internet and the ability to do this didn't happen. I assume, right? I don't know. It's kind of crazy right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, before they used to put like what signs on the trees and things, or the newspaper, so it was like very straightforward the information. So you read the newspaper and everything was on the newspaper. But in 2007, the iPhone came up, and then everybody started having their own information on their phone, you know. So
And
I think
you
that's
know,
how you get all your information, like through your phone, you know.
well, you know, and Rambir has brought this point up a few times. Is like, how do you get your news? And he's like very proud of the fact that he watches the news in CNN, and he keeps on like telling me, how do you get your news? And I said, I get them from NPR or the website, and I really don't know where I get my news from, but I don't watch TV. I get everything from like Twitter or friends that tell me, or NPR, or so. I mean, I don't know what the right thing to do is, but I don't know if watching a news network I've been thinking about this a lot. Like I don't know like how to get information anymore, honestly. Like what is the proper way to get information? Because there is an agenda behind every single thing you see, even those that claim to be nonprofit, right? Because if you claim to be nonprofit but you're left leaning, that you do have certain things that you owe to the people who are going to support you that are also left leaning. You want to say things that they agree with, and that's a problem. There is really not a completely non-biased media that you can listen to and get your information from.
Yeah,
I don't know about that. I think NPR is pretty non-biased. From my own personal opinion, I do think there's a difference between being non-biased and non-interested, right? So the media as a whole is obviously interested in sustaining itself, right? So when you have a president like Donald Trump who calls the media the enemy of the people, that's going to cause a reaction in the media, right? Because they have a sense of self preservation. Like they want to continue into the future, and it's also an individual right of our country. So I think you can kind of separate those two. But as far as bias goes, I view bias in terms of like Fox News, for example, right? Where they claim they're fair and balanced. That's their motto. Well, obviously not when you have Sean Hannity, who, is out there every single night spewing these conspiracy theories and basically aligning himself with Donald Trump, everything Donald Trump says, right? That's the state-run media right there. Fox News is the state-run media. They don't have any objective news platform anymore because it's all intermingled with their opinion columnists, and then of course Sean Hannity. So,
but do you feel like NPR feels like they would be more compelled to agree with certain liberal points just because a vast majority of their audience is also like they know that? Like there's no conservatives listening to this.
Oh, absolutely there are.
I mean, unless there was they still need support. They still need a certain amount of funding. And if you're listening to things that are things that you want to hear, then it's gonna piss you off and get off. And that's also a point about this, right? Like you don't want to listen to something that pisses you off. And the media has to be aware. It's not even that they're doing anything wrong. It's almost like borderline. Like, are we entertaining or are we informing, right? And nobody wants us to hear the information, right? Otherwise, people will be all over scholarly reports and shit, right? Or journals or whatnot. Like nobody wants to read a scholarly journal. There's not a whole lot of money into that. And that's the problem, right? Like, it needs to be appealing, it needs to be entertaining, it needs to be something that you want to, in a way, learn more about.
Well, I would push back on you a little bit there. I mean, I would say MSNBC is definitely a liberal-leaning, bias, news organization. NPR, they have certain programs that might swing that way, but it's not their news programs, right? So it's typically stuff like This American Life, which is not really NPR. It's kind of affiliated, but and then also Wait Don't Tell Me, like certain programs, certain funny programs, or like some podcast sort of things, but not their news programs. Their news programs are completely, I think, unbiased, and that's the important distinction. Because people like if we were back in the George W. Bush era, nobody would have said that NPR was liberal bias. Maybe some like fringe conservatives, but for the most part, this is only a phenomenon that we're seeing in the Donald Trump era, because there is no good way to cover Donald Trump without calling him a straight up liar, right? And people mistake that for bias when it's just the fucking truth. And I think the conservatives are using that to their advantage, and that's how they're saying, oh, look at this left wing media. They have an agenda, they have a bias, when in reality they're just covering what is coming out of the fucking White House, and it's terrifying,
Well, and that's the point, is because there has been so much stuff that is not true or has been exaggerated. For example, let's talk about what you sent me today about, like a couple of days ago, about Joe Rogan, right? About him. I didn't read the article, but Joe Rogan, he's a comedian and he has this podcast. I want to use this as an example, right? And obviously, I really like him, so I may be a little biased, and that's the thing, that is really hard, because it's almost impossible to be completely non-biased, or whatever the word. But he said, or he's the article you sent me, he said Joe Rogan says he'd rather vote for Trump than Biden, right? Something along those lines.
Yep.
Did you actually read the article? Because I didn't. Did you?
I skimmed it.
I did not, but I feel like.
So I don't really know Joe. Like, so I'll be completely honest here. I've not listened to a single thing that he's done, besides Fear Factor, right? So that's the only thing I know about Joe Rogan. But here's what I know based off of what you told me about him, is he loves Bernie Sanders, right? And now that Bernie Sanders is not going to win the nomination, he's butthurt about that and is going to vote for Donald Trump over Joe Biden. So like this is something that really just blows my mind, because if you go back to 2016, there was a pretty significant minority of Bernie Sanders supporters who were saying that they were going to vote for Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. And that just blows my mind, because there is nothing in common with Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. So why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, that is the problem, that it is it's a thing that I feel like that people who are like high level into politics don't take into consideration, is that people don't get into the details that much. So you're saying, how could you compare this to, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying, like, there's nothing in common between them besides maybe like the trade policies, right? Where
between who? Between Hillary and
no, between Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. So how is it that someone who supports Bernie Sanders can just choose Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton, when obviously when we're looking at the Venn diagram here, like there is way more overlap with Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden than there is with Donald Trump and these other three. Like, how do you come to that?
I think it comes from a point of feeling like you're being deceived and feeling like you're getting hurt, and not feeling and not necessarily how is Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump so different, or I'm sorry, Bernie and Donald Trump so different, but like how this, in my opinion, right? How disappointed you are of the Democratic Party that you've elected someone that has no chance to win. And that's how I feel. Or like you elected someone that is really not going to make any difference. Yeah, so at that point, like you just might as well hand it to Donald Trump. That's what I feel like.
Well, I think if you gotta pick between Trump and Hillary, when you hear Hillary, you hear Cricket Hillary.
Well, that's what Donald Trump created.
Yeah.
So he have created all these names to all, whoever is against him is like Cricket Hillary, and he kind of like, look, I'm like my first language is not English, so when I hear like Cricket Hillary, that sounds like if it hits me, like look, I don't even. I'm pretty sure whoever speaks the language, whenever you hear Hillary, it's like Cricket Hillary. You hear?
I think Tucci, you failed to realize how little the public understands and pays attention to certain things, and how much is driven from pop culture and emotion driven things. So to you it's very clear because you know the policies and what they stand for, right? For the average American, it's not clear like that. They're looking at a person that they like or they dislike, right?
Well, I guess my question to you then is, okay, if that's the case, if people who are supporting Bernie Sanders don't know anything about his policies, then why the fuck are they supporting Bernie Sanders? Like,
so there's two things. There's the people that support Bernie Sanders, and I think that, well, if you listen, so here's the thing. So if you support Bernie Sanders, you feel like this is a person that has understood how there's money behind politics and how there's a lot of corruption and how it needs to be, the money needs to be redistributed, and needs to be more of a what he continues to mention as a republic, democratic socialism, right? So if you stand behind that, and then that in a way means that the average Democrat like Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden are part of that agenda of money behind politics, right? So there are people that are playing ball with this, people who have a lot of money are contributing. They're taking money from super PACs. There are just as bad as what you hate from the Republican side, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, if you fall behind that doctrine of Bernie Sanders, you feel very insulted. And not only that, when you feel like or when you see things that you feel like they're doing things to actively block him, because the reaction at that point would be like, well, he could ruin our game, right? We're making a lot of money. You're fucking us over. He was the guy that can potentially do things for the right reasons, but now you're picking the other guy, and it feels sort of like things are rigged. So it stops. Yeah, obviously a Republican candidate would be worse, but you're so hurt about things being rigged that you say, fuck this. I don't like, you just, at that point you're doing things out of emotion and anger, and you're just saying you're either very disappointed with the system and you say, I'm not going to vote, or you're angry enough where you actually vote for the other person. I don't really think there's a whole lot of people going and voting for Trump. Now, I would like to hear the context of the conversation that Joe Rogan said, because he is a comedian. He is somebody that is known for being very free speech and being very open and saying crazy things. He'll say, like, that's what comedians do. They say things like, the incestuous things and shit that is considered very socially unaccepted to make a funny joke. So when you take a soundbite, a little comment, and you say, like, he might have said that, but what context was he saying it on? It looks like he was saying it as a commentator on a fight. It's like, you cannot define that person, even though it was irresponsible for him to say it in a way. You cannot define him as look, Joe Rogan said he would vote for Trump. I don't really think he is going to, but I have to look into it. I don't really know. But it sucks that we live in a time where that could be something that you could easily shoot through my way and say, look, Joe Rogan said that he's going to vote for Trump instead of Joe Biden because Bernie Sanders didn't win.
Oh, bro, don't get me wrong. I'm not defining anybody, right? But if you've been around this country for the last 4 years, and especially someone as high profile as Joe Rogan, and you still don't know the type of fucker that Donald Trump is, if you've still been burying your head under the sand, just ignoring everything that's going on around you, that's not my problem. That's your fucking problem. And I have no problem making a value judgment about someone who's in there making these podcasts every single day and coming not coming to terms with reality. That's my problem.
Well, that's the biggest thing with that is that I still don't know what he actually said, right? So he might have said that as a joke, right? He might have said that as a very serious argument. But the reality is that we just got the headline and we just got a skim through of an article, and we don't really know what he meant by that or what context, what is, and that's the point that I'm saying. And so, yeah, you're not defining him, but you are making a very heavy judgment on him, right? Which, it's upsetting. But that was designed to get people upset that felt in a different way. Again, it was designed for a click. It was designed for a reaction.
Right.
And it got it.
Oh, I'm sure that's exactly what his reasoning was. However, it doesn't make me perceive him in any better light, because he has how many millions of followers? Like, dude, this is important, right? Because if people go out and vote based off of his endorsement, I mean, he carries a lot of sway. So if he's going from Bernie Sanders to Donald Trump, that carries some fucking weight because he's Joe Rogan. Like,
if you're a avid listener to Joe Rogan, I feel like you're more likely not to vote than to vote for
well, that's your own confirmation bias, right?
Joe Rogan,
absolutely.
Joe Rogan is friend with Trump, though. They're friends.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is. He said it. Like, oh, I have Trump coming to the UFC. He gave me a call. He called me to my cell phone. I was trying to, to see him like right in the front so he can see the fight. So Joe Rogan is actually like someone that knows him and kind of like have some intimidation, but
I listen to Joe Rogan very often, right? Less now than the quarantine has happened because I mostly listen to him on my commute. So I've listened to him less and less. So I haven't really listened to the latest podcast, but he consistently talks mad shit about Trump. He does not like Trump in any way. He is constantly bringing him down as a psychopath.
I'm sorry.
No.
I got him wrong. It's not. I wasn't. It's Dana, the UFC.
Oh, Dana, the owner. I don't know about that.
I'm sorry. I got confused with the two characters.
Yeah.
Dana does like Donald Trump. I don't know what I thought he was.
But what I'm saying is that Joe Rogan also, he also likes. He was very much like myself, very much he likes Bernie Sanders, and he also like Tulsi Gabbard. But I can tell you, if you're a habitual listener to Joe Rogan, you know that he is not a Trump supporter in any way or fashion. That he consistently talks about him as a psychopath, as somebody that needs help, as an egomaniac, and type of thing. So like, when I got that headline, I could see it because I am also personally very disappointed on Joe Biden being the nominee. Whether I'm right or wrong, I feel like it comes down to money. I really do feel like that. I feel like Joe Biden is he's going to be the Democratic nominee because he will make, if he does get elected, he will play ball with those people who are contributing to the Democratic Party, where somebody like Bernie Sanders or Tulsi Gabbard, but let's keep Tulsi out of it because I know that she has a lot of bad rep right now, but Bernie, right? I feel like Bernie will not do that. Bernie will try to actually look after the people, or at least he's been really successful at giving that image, right? So people that believe the doctrine of Bernie, like myself, and I can completely have the wool over my eyes, I feel like are reacting very negatively of this Joe Biden thing. Joe Biden is just another lifelong politician. That yes, the policies align more, but nobody's going down the list of policies, man. That's the problem. I don't think that Joe Biden is going to beat Trump. I really don't.
It's definitely not helping when we have people like Joe Rogan going out there saying, "Oh, I'll vote for Donald Trump over."
Right, that's definitely not helping.
Yeah, I'm just messing with you, man. Like, but that is a problem. Though. I hope you realize that. Like, I hope you understand how much of a problem that is, because we need everybody in this fight. If we don't have everybody, then guess what? This fucker's gonna win another 4 years. So like, we need
But
to.
there's two conflicting ideas here, right? The idea is that, yes, I don't want Trump in office, which is a very strong idea. And the idea that we're voting for people just because they're part of this group, right? We're like, all right, like for example, I'm a very left leaning person, but I don't really have strong beliefs around gun control. Maybe it's because I don't know enough about it, or like, the idea that I have to go into this group, right? Like that's something that is becoming more and more evident, and it's causing this division. It's really hurting the Democratic Party more because the people who tend to be left leaning and Democratic are typically more open minded and open thinking, and are understanding that like getting behind a group of beliefs doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, people that are conservatives are okay with that because they're like, they're typically very, very religious. They're okay with that. They're okay with just following whatever has been given to them because it's the right thing, right? And I think is really hurting the more progressive thinkers and the people that are tend to and honestly, I feel like they're smarter, right? So like we can't come together because we're smarter. Honestly, that's what I feel like is happening right now.
Yeah.
Which is sad, but it could be just bullshit. I don't know, man. At this point, if you ask me right now who's going to be the next president, I think it's going to be Trump. I really do. I think that the Democratic Party should have strategically thought about getting Biden as the nominee. That's a horrible idea, I feel like.
So right now it's
But
Hillary.
you
and
feel like it's a
Trump.
good idea,
Sorry,
right?
I'm so off of this. So right now the nominees for sure are Hillary and Trump.
No. Trump and Joe Biden, right?
Oh, Hillary.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Hillary's not running.
Okay.
Yeah. Joe Biden is the presumptive nominee because there's no one else running currently. Like Bernie Sanders dropped out today, so
No way, really?
yeah.
Yeah, I got. So that's how I get my news, like on Cine, like on talking about all this conversation came out of where we got our news, and I think most of the people that get it, like the new generation, they get their news on Snapchat, man. Um, no, for real. If you go to
Dude, I'm
Snapchat,
telling you, Tucci, you're you don't understand.
like if you go to,
You don't
like,
understand.
I asked my sister, like, where do you get your information? And if you go to Snapchat, they have like a little page where you just click and they just give you quick information of things that are going on around the world. Like, so let's say right now I'm on Snapchat and I hear like, let me see if, okay, right now, okay, this one. Okay, this is just a Trump commercial. But most of the information that comes from sites like that, like you go to Instagram, you get some information there, and they give you like quick information of what's going on. Like coronavirus have killed like this many people, and then they show you a funny video. Virus, all these states are being, have this many cases, and the stores are going to be shutting down by 8 p.m. Papa, they give you information like that, and then everything comes off. Like the new generation is totally disconnected from the news and things like that. So if they go very deep to, oh, this guy likes, like gun control, this guy likes, he's gonna approve weed, or he's gonna approve like drugs, like all this stuff, like it's not as much, they don't go so deeply on the information. They go over all the information, like something very light, and that's what these apps kind of give you, like a very light information on what's going on. Like let's say like today I got just a little ad saying like Bernie Sanders drop off. He drop off, like he's not running. So that's how like most of these new generation getting their information. It's not from, oh, I'm gonna start reading this article and, oh, this is what this guy is doing. Oh, this is the Trump. This is what Trump deal with the Chinese. He made this deal. We're gonna pay I don't know, 11% more of taxes to the Chinese. They don't know none of this information. They just know something little bit on top of what is really real.
That just validates that's what I valid is my answer to your question, Tucci. Why would somebody that's voting for Bernie would support someone like Trump that all the values are completely different? Because is marketing, is what the society responds to, is not facts or details or actual policy, is how you feel about that person. And I think Bernie Sanders has managed to appeal to a lot of people and not Biden. And then at the other end of the spectrum, there's people Trump has managed to appeal. So like that would be like the right. I don't know. It just, if you look at it that way, it makes more sense, right?
I guess. I mean, but you know, the cynic in me also thinks about Russia and like all these other, you know, nefarious actors that are going into social media and like propagating all these memes and
Right.
disinformation and shit like
Which
that.
is
And part of me wonders how much of it is that? How much of it is people just buying into this propaganda? You know?
That's true. I mean, it is effective. Unfortunately, this is something that we've created, and that is because of consumerism and because of the capitalistic way of living that works, and it can be manipulated in other ways, dude. So yeah, I mean, you're right. I don't know. Bottom line is, I just, whatever happens, I just hope we're not completely fucked. I just want to make it through this virus. I just, I really hope Biden has a chance in hell, but I don't think so.
I
We'll
think if
see.
we all get behind Biden and push him to the White House, he's gonna get elected.
And I think that's exactly Tucci's point, right? It's like, to him is, why don't we just get together and push Biden, right? But and we, when we say we, is Democrat. But that's the thing, is like more and more people are disappointed with the idea, and more to the left's leaning side of the idea of being all together without understanding what's happening. For somebody like Biden, I mean, I don't know. He might be. I mean, what is it that the Democratic Party hates so much about Bernie? What is that? What do you know?
Man,
What
the other thing is, like when somebody push or their candidate, was Barney saying like, let's go for all the candidate, or all the people that we got to vote for Barney, let's go for Trump? Is that something he said?
No.
No, somebody was advertising it like that, like saying like, okay,
So somebody put an article saying Joe Rogan said that.
Joe Rogan. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because there is so much. Sometimes we don't understand like the connections and things like that, like behind everything. So when I talk about politics and things like that, I feel like that is just it's a family, kind of thing. Because most of the president, for not many, like a couple of the presidents were not family reelected or they most of them, they were kind of family. They, you got Bush, then you got Father Bush, and then then his son might be, for doing something, or the son of his son might do something, or his uncle, or someone from the family is going to trying to be for the president. So I feel like all this behind, sometimes we just see like a couple of faces, but behind all this is like people pushing, like let's say who wins this war between like family. Like I feel like there's corruption, there's many things like that. And when we talk about like who's going to be the main party, we got two big family. You got the Democrats, and then you got the Republican. So you got all those, they're two different families, and they're going from different, so they're just pushing each other's buttons, and whoever advertises the best is going to win.
Well, that's exactly my point, is that for the longest part, and I would love for someone that is powerful enough to run as an independent and to make enough of a ruckus. But that's why is that so impossible, Tucci? Why is it so impossible for somebody to win as an independent?
It's not impossible, but the reason that it's difficult is because we have a two-party system, right? So like that's just how it's always been for the most part. And when you have these like state laws that in order to get on the ballot, you have to be the nominee of a party and et cetera, et cetera. So like you absolutely can run as an independent, But in a lot of states, what that requires is going through and getting all of these signatures to get on the ballot, right? And that's like 250,000 or whatever, however many signatures you need for the petition. And so,
You,
like, it's just a big headache when instead you could just be the nominee of a party and basically file your paperwork and that's it, right?
when you talk about these signatures, is that signatures from like say from the government house, like from the Senate and things like that for each state, or are you talking about signatures from people on that state?
Yeah, the people in the state.
The people on the state. So the only thing it really needs for something like this to happen, you just need to have like a very strong leadership, someone that can be like many, like there's just, in order for this to break the chain of red and blue, in order to break that, you have to have a very strong leadership that will connect all the states together to vote for him. Someone that speaks good, someone that can, people would follow him, and he will get, like a lot of votes. And you can actually start like that, just doing
Well,
like
that's my
doing a
point. My
YouTube
point.
video, and or start doing things like that. He
My
can
point is
advertise
Bernie
so
Sanders.
good that
My
he's
point
gonna
is
be able to.
Bernie Sanders is popular enough where he could run as an
But
independent. But
he's not a strong leader. He's not a strong leader. I don't
well,
think he's a strong leader. Like, I don't think he speaks how he should speaks, and he does what a strong leader should do, like making changes like that. Like, let's say Trump was okay. Trump was not. I don't think so. Trump was on the Democrat or Republican. He came out of nowhere. He was just a businessman. He just had a strong leadership, and he knew how to make deals happen. You know.
strong leadership is such a kind of a crazy term, right? What does that mean, right? So does it mean having people that follow you? Does it mean making the right decisions? What does that
It gotta
mean?
be a connection of everything. It gotta be a connection of everything. Or saying the right thing when you have to say the right thing. Answer with what people really want to hear. Like when
So
Trump
being
came out, yeah. When Trump came out and he was being a strong leader, he said what many people wanted to hear. He said we gotta stop immigration, and that's where he focused on, like immigration, and blaming someone from a different state, and he make his point very strong, and that what makes him like, and that what made him like win the elections. I believe, being very strong about something. So if someone is gonna rise from nowhere, you have to have that, that strong leadership. Let's say like what is that?
Stop for a second. Like what I'm trying to say is, historically, there has never been in the United States, there has never been a a independent nominee that has been worth a damn, because this two-party system are so strong. I don't think it's as easy as saying, "Oh, we need somebody with a strong leadership, whatever that means," and then this would happen. Right? It's just because they have that much of a grasp on what happens, with whatever rules are set up and in whatever way. But I'm just saying we're coming to a point that people are so disappointed with some of the things that are happening that I would feel like somebody that had that much of a following like Bernie Sanders would make sense as an independent. Am I crazy to think this or no?
I mean, so are you advocating for Bernie Sanders running as an independent?
I feel like it would only hurt the Democratic nominee, but it also, and from my point of view, from my point of view, where the Democratic nominee is already doomed. Yes, I would advocate for that.
Okay, well, I don't think that would be a terrible decision. First of all, you're going to split the vote, right? And Donald Trump's voters are very, very secure. Like, he is 100% going to get at least 45% or whatever, however the percent is. He's going to get those votes no matter what, because they have been remarkably consistent in their support. But for Bernie Sanders, I mean, he's never going to win the presidency, man. Like, I hate to tell you that, but he's never going to be president ever. Not not a single day in his life. And the reason is because the Democratic Party is a big tent party, right? There's a lot of different types of people in this party. And the biggest demographic where Bernie Sanders just fucking fails every single time is black voters, right? Black voters on average are more moderate than white voters, white Democratic voters. So that's why Joe Biden had, he won South Carolina, and then he had all this momentum going into Super Tuesday, was because, he won the black vote in South Carolina, and that was big. That was massive for him. But it's also a very moderate vote. And you cannot win the Democratic nomination without winning the black vote. You just cannot do it. It's impossible. So I don't know what I'm not sure what Bernie Sanders' campaign manager was telling him, but his ideas do not resonate with people in South Carolina who go to church every Sunday and then go back home and do, a chicken fry in the afternoon, right? It just doesn't work, right? Because what he's essentially saying is we need to shake up the whole system. And for these voters, they don't want to shake up the whole system. So for black voters in general, and this is something that I've been looking into over the past couple of years, they're very smart. They understand that a more moderate Democratic nominee would appeal to the whole nation better than a very left-leaning nominee, right? And that's why they tend to support the more moderate candidate. And also why Barack Obama initially had a tough time getting a lot of the black support over Hillary Clinton back in 2008, right? Because Hillary Clinton was seen as a more electable candidate. Now, Barack Obama managed to turn that around, I think, in large part due to his charisma and all the unknown factors. But that's why Bernie Sanders will never be president, is because he doesn't inspire a whole lot of people. He's just angry all the time, and he mirrors a lot of people's anger in the political system, which, Donald Trump does that too, and that's why he won. But you don't get the same effect on the left, right? And that's the problem.
Well, you know what? That makes sense, and that makes me a little bit disappointed because a lot of it comes down to just looking at things on the surface level, in my opinion, and not understanding really what's happening behind the politics. So you're basically easily influenced by a charismatic person that is saying things that you feel are going to be good for you without really understanding what those things are. That kind of sucks, honestly, man. But it does make a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense. And you know what? What the first thing that came to mind was the fact that Bernie Sanders is so appealing to those that have a lot of student loans, and I would be interested to know what the percentage of African Americans that have student loans and why they're not incited by this is there's probably a correlation there. Which whatever, man. I hope. So do you think that Biden can beat Trump? Is that something you think it can happen?
I think anybody can beat Trump as long as we believe that they can beat Trump. That's
the thing. Like, I don't want you. I think that you're just basically expecting people to be loyal to this party, but like you understand that that's not the case, right?
No. I am not expecting loyalty. I'm expecting logic, right? If people don't want Donald Trump to be president, and be honest with yourself, if you do not want Donald Trump to be president, the quickest way to that reality is to vote for the person who's running against him. It doesn't matter what they believe in. I mean, Joe Biden. Joe Biden he's like a granddad. Like he's like your grandfather, right? Who's eating ice cream every day. Like this dude is non-threatening in the slightest. And I do not understand people that do not like Joe Biden. The dude is so nice.
I tell you why. I tell you why exactly, Ron. Remember what we were talking about right before the podcast, and that innate that those thoughts that are there before, and this is some of the stuff that Elias was talking about when he was talking about a charismatic or a strong leader, right? That actually makes a lot of sense, and it ties into that. What you're saying actually is the reason why people don't want to vote for Biden. That same concept, those same concepts that we were talking about before the podcast, in which we don't want to follow. We have in a very innate way two things that we need from people, and is we need to feel like it's a strong leadership, or like we think that we can survive under this leadership, and he's not inspiring that from the most like biological ways, right? Because what we just said, dude, like you wouldn't want your grandpa to lead a ship into battle, would you?
Well,
and that's the problem. That is exactly the problem. That is, I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, here's the thing with that, though, right? We live in a democracy. We don't live in an autocracy. So if you're
but think about it, like people are not making these decisions thinking about it. They're thinking like what they feel, right? And when that feeling is coming from is from this. We talked about it before the podcast, right? We were talking about relationships and the way that some women feel or not, right? And this is directly related to that, right? Do you see the connection?
I mean, I absolutely do, right? I do. And I understand where you're coming from, and I think you're right. I think you're absolutely 100% right. But here is where I think the people that think that way, they want an autocracy. They don't want a democracy.
People, 90% of the people, probably 99% of the people in this, I don't know what an autocracy means. So if you think that they're making those decisions
it's a dictatorship. It's a dictatorship.
Right, but dude, okay, so we're living in a democracy, but we're picking a leader based on their power to lead us into the right direction. And if somebody is a grandpa, somebody that's weak and not really that much of an assertive leader, which is what Elias was saying, like,
no. I didn't say weak. So if you look at Joe Biden, there's nothing weak about Joe Biden.
Perceiving right? when he's stumbling, but see, that's the thing, dude. Like you're looking at it, you have to understand that the way that you see this candidate is not normal. It's not the way that most people see this candidate as. You have to understand that, and for them, they're just getting sound bites, just like the Joe Rogan thing you sent me, and they're getting just snips and things here and there. So that's what you have to understand. Like that's what the vast majority of Americans are seeing, and he's coming across as some sort of like senile, weak guy. That is what the general thing is with him.
Well, that blows my mind because this dude has been in the Senate for 4 decades and then was vice president under Barack Obama. And he has went through so much personal loss. I mean, the dude lost his freaking wife, his son, and then I think another son or daughter before that with his wife. So like he's been through so much personal loss, but also so much personal accomplishment. This man is clearly able to approach any challenge that comes his way without submitting to it, you know? So like I don't see any weakness in Joe Biden at all. He is old. He is an old man. And he does stutter a lot, but I don't perceive that as a weakness, and I think that is something with our society that we really need to grapple with. Why is a person with a stutter all of a sudden weak, you know?
We talked about it before.
Just that I think we live in in a generation that doesn't respect people, okay? So that doesn't respect their parents. We live in a generation that doesn't respect the police. It doesn't respect authority. So when you have like these kind of people, like, okay, they're not joking around. They're talking about, or when they speak, they're like, okay, I'm running to be the president, and that's something they take very serious. But then you see Donald Trump winning the election when he said, grab woman for the pussy. And when the new generation sees these things, they don't care because they lost the respect of the how these people, present themselves. So I think it's like, in order to win the election, you have to win the people. And right now, respect is something that people like on this candidate, like Joe Biden might have. He might have a lot of respect. He might always talk the right way. But and then the other thing about Trump is like he doesn't always talk the right way. He always speaks like people is actually speaking nowadays. And like, oh, I don't take any responsibility. It wasn't my fault. The country's not ready. Well, what do you want me to do? Well, you're the president. Well, yeah, I'm the president, but I'm a human being. And everybody kind of relates to that because, okay, when I had people things like this. When I had a job, and some customers came in my job, and they didn't have what they wanted, and they walk away and they left. It wasn't my responsibility. So when these people, they put their feet, or they kind of relate to this guy, or they put on the same position. Well, it wasn't his fault. The
Right.
country wasn't ready. Well, it wasn't his fault. Well, of course it wasn't. But and then if you look at the way, like, it was your fault. You should look this up. You're the president. You should take your job more seriously, and you should be a leader. Like, and you should give us answer, and you should give us, solutions, and because this is what we want from him. But in this case, like, this guy comes out of the picture saying whatever he feels like it, and that's what people do nowadays. They say and they do whatever they feel like it. So they kind of relate to this guy just because of the way he's acting, the way he does things. And then you have another guy. You say he lost his wife, he lost his son. He went through so much things in his life. But is people really, are they looking into that, or they just care about?
And nobody knows that. Nobody
Yeah,
knows that.
is there just
Yeah.
like, well, he's
People
mumbling
are
when he talks. He mumbles when he talks.
exactly.
He's nothing. He's just an old man, because people
Yeah.
lost the respect from from people. Like I said, it started at their house. They lost the respect for their parents. And now you see so many videos, people not respecting the authority, like respecting the police when a police officer asks them for a license. What should I give you my license? Well, you should get my identification. Shut the fuck up. Like, the new generation needs to learn how to respect people, man. But then if you got people like Donald Trump, and then the whole society is going to go down, and the president who are really going to be the president is whoever speaks their language. Those are
No,
going to be
I
winning
agree
the
with you.
election. Whoever speaks
Well,
my
here's the
language
thing.
is going to win the election, and he's going to get my vote.
Yeah, so people are looking at things on the surface level, and they want somebody that is confident and pushing forward. And unfortunately, Trump was very successful at that. And I feel like, I mean, who knows? I mean, what you were telling me about Biden, I was learning for the first time right now. All I know is he was like the little sidekick of Obama, and he was always there, and all the memes about him. Like, I wish that Biden. I wish my wife looked at me the way Biden looks at Obama. Remember those, where he like looked at Obama with such love.
Yeah.
And
I
there
mean,
was a lot, but there is not a leader. Like, people are. You got to understand, people are driven by a very like surface level thing, and he hasn't done a good job at creating that.
Joe Biden is a very empathetic man. I'm not going to dispute that, but at the same time, he was chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee.
He needs to start, if there is going to be in my opinion, right? If there's going to be a flip in him giving and him getting any traction against Donald Trump, he needs to start showing that strong, assertive side of him that I've never seen, that apparently is there, right? So he needs to do that. He
Definitely has it, and it's stunning when it comes out. And I really hope he does it in the debates.
I really do.
If there is even going to be any debates, I mean, I'm kind of pessimistic on that. I think Donald Trump, once this coronavirus has a resurgence in the fall, I think he might try and postpone the election or
Well, that's
do something
that's
else.
the other thing that we don't see. that like, oh, the country should take action. The country should start doing something right now. The country should start closing the stores down so people won't get out the house. This guy might be like, okay, I'm gonna do this in 2 more months. We're gonna hold it for 2 more months. So when the election comes, everybody's gonna be locked at their house.
Yep.
Yeah,
Like
he might try to
let's hold it.
manipulate
Let's
this
hold it. Let's hold it.
towards him.
Let's not make any strong restrictions right now. Let's hold it.
Yeah, he might find a loophole and just never have the elections to begin with. I don't know. The guy is definitely a confident man, and that's a problem. Well, it's very charismatic, and he thinks he can get away with murder, and he's gotten away with so much that God knows what he's capable of or what he thinks he can do. That's another thing.
He's clearly sociopathic, Machiavellian, and fucking narcissistic as hell, man. I mean, this dude, I cannot fucking believe it, man. I just cannot believe when he goes out every single day during this crisis and he broadcasts to the whole fucking nation like it's not my fault, it's everyone else's fault. Like, what the hell?
I saw a tweet today saying that the left leaning people are asking me to not. I don't know much about it, but he said the left leaning people are asking me not to broadcast every day. Well, they were asking me before to broadcast more or some shit like that. Did you see that tweet?
No, I'm not on Twitter, man.
Let me pull it up because it's hilarious. I mean, the first thing that came to mind is like, God knows what he's tweeting or like what he's actually doing for them to like ask for that. Like, all right, here we go. Oh my God, he already tweeted 3 things before.
So I see, like this is the other thing is like when I see like I get watch the news on the Snapchat. So then you have like some type of news, and it says the numbers of New Yorkers admitted to the hospital has dropped. That's good news, and that's Donald Trump tweeting about that. So that's what these people are actually reading. Okay, good news, Donald Trump talking. The numbers of New Yorkers have dropped from this from coronavirus. Good news. And then you get at that little news, boom, and who's saying it? Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So
yeah, check it out. 10 hours ago he said Bernie Sanders is out, capital letters. Thank you Elizabeth Warren. If not for her, Bernie would have won almost every state in the Super Tuesday. So this guy is strategic, right? So he's blaming Elizabeth Warren for Bernie to lose, right? So if you're a butthurt Bernie follower, you would be maybe compelled to listen to this, right? This ended just like the Democrats and the DNC wanted. Same as the crooked Hillary fiasco. Bernie people should come to the Republican Party. Capital letters straight, exclamation point. So he's just trying to work it like, the idea, like if you're not going to vote for Bernie, come to me. Again, it doesn't make sense if you actually look at the policy, but it makes sense if you're looking at the general idea. So it's dude, like that's the thing, man. Like I think the biggest problem you have analyzing this stuff, Tucci, is that you know too much and you fail to understand how people look at this, which is very pop culture, like emotional way, which sucks. I can't even find it. Dude, he's tweeted so many things since that tweet that I can't even see it anymore.
No, I mean, I get it, right? I am not burying my head under the sand. Like, I understand why people believe the way they do, but my concern is they're never going to get out of that, right? And so what I'm trying to do is, like, get people to, like, realize what sort of frame of reference they're in, and then get them out of it so that way they can make some initiative and actually start researching this shit for themselves, right? So like that's what I'm trying to do. Like I understand social media, Snapchat, like that's where they're getting their news. But if they step out of that for just even a couple of days and like start to get in that rhythm, then they'll start to understand.
Step out of social media and go and do what?
And then go to actual news sources, right?
Well, the thing is like the real, in order for it to change, like instead of making them go out, just bring them in, like on the same platforms. Just bring what's real happening. you know. But then you have Donald Trump paying so much to Snapchat or to these, you know, these sites.
Oh, he's not really even paying. He's just good at manipulating it.
No,
Well,
no, no.
yeah,
It's
and
actually like Trump.
that's part
Like,
of the problem, right? So like Facebook has targeted advertising for politics. So like I myself have even gotten Donald Trump advertisements, and I fucking hate the guy, right? So
Probably like, so check it out. The latest tweet was 2 hours ago, and I don't even understand what he means by this. But the absentee ballots are a great way to vote for many senior citizens, military, and others who can get to the polls on election day. These ballots are very different from 100% mail-in voting, which is RIPE for a fraud or ripe for a fraud and shouldn't be allowed. What is he trying to say here?
So basically, what he's saying there is, and this is exactly why I think if the coronavirus were to resurge in the fall, that he is going to fucking postpone the election, institute martial law, whatever. Right? Here's what he's saying. This is the subtext to what he just said. What he's saying is Republicans need to stand firm and oppose any sort of absentee voting, any sort of mail-in voting, because we should force people to vote in person, right? No matter what. Even if there's a pandemic, they need to vote in person. That way we can suppress the voter turnout. And as we all know, the most dedicated voters are Republican, right? So if they do that, then there's not going to be a whole lot of Democratic turnout. And so that's the whole scheme, right? That's what they did in Wisconsin. If they suppress the voter turnout, then Republicans will have a better result every single time. And he doesn't even have to do anything himself, right? It's just these states that are instituting these policies to basically benefit him, right? And suppress your vote, suppress everybody's vote. That's what they're doing.
Wow. Yeah, so to me, it seems so transparent for you to try to be like, "Hey, don't vote from home. Don't vote from home is not cool." Right now, when there's an epidemic, it's kind of like transparent, but that's the problem. It never is when you're like.
Well, right, because he says stuff like, "Oh, there's voter fraud. There's voter fraud. There's voter fraud. There's people that aren't registered to vote that are out there voting." No, there's not. There's absolutely no voter fraud. In fact, the only voter fraud that's happened in the past 4 years happened in North Carolina in the 9th district. And guess what? Which party that benefited? It wasn't the Democratic Party, I'll tell you that. It was a fucking Republican. So, like, I don't know what this dude is talking about, but there is absolutely no evidence that there has been any voter fraud at all, at least any substantial voter fraud, right? And so, and like when he comes out here saying, "Oh yeah, there's all these illegal immigrants voting in the elections," no, there's not. There's absolutely zero fucking evidence of that ever occurring, and the only reason he's doing it is to suppress, as to first of all, enact these laws that suppress the voter turnout and allow him to stay in power, allow him and all of these fucking Republicans to stay in power. Right?
Oh my God. What are you saying, man? This is recorded, man. When you run for office, it's going to come out. I can't go and edit that. Oh, shit. He didn't mean anything towards the poo-poo head.
I'm sorry. No,
when people speak their heart out, man.
Look, so
poo-poo head
was the wrong word, but it was the right expression. I promise you that. Okay.
Oh my God, that is fucking hilarious. On that note, we've been added for an hour and 40 minutes, guys. So I think we should do some closing statements onto week 4 coronavirus historical time. It is 4/8/2020. We are in a pandemic of coronavirus, and we have a kind of an interesting, crazy president. We have an election coming up. I think that all we could do, my message for today would be try to inform yourself as much as you can. Try to really understand what's happening. Don't look at things on the surface level. Don't be influenced by little sound bites. Don't be influenced by headlines. Read behind it. Try to get a credible source and use your critical thinking. That is my message for today. That's what I would close this down with. Tucci or Elias?
Yeah, I just want to share for everybody to say something like, don't be scared. Just have precautions and everything you do. If you got to go outside, take the precautions needed for you to go back home to your loved ones. So take precaution of when you go outside. That's it.
I would say don't worry about eating food, right? Because you're not going to contract the virus by eating food. We all know that. But also, if you want to go out to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy some flowers and plant them, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. Just do it when no one else is around you. And then
don't do it.
Or just don't fucking don't go outside and plant flowers. Like, we don't need to do that right now. Like, also, if you have to go out there and vote, unfortunately for all Wisconsin voters, at this point in time, I'm sorry. I wish you didn't have to do that. But despite the impact of the pandemic, you still need to do it, because if you don't do it, guess what happens? These freaking Republicans stay in office, and then we won't be able to change anything. So I love you all, and I hope you stay healthy, and it's been great and a fun time. So thank you.
TTYL, guys. If you feel like you're going out, just sit at home and fuck yourself. No, seriously. Jack off. Stay home. Bye-bye.